Hi, my name is Donnie Decker. This video is a demonstration and walkthrough of FoodBank Manager's reservation system. To get started, let's go to the Reservation Module. The Reservation Module is made of several different pieces. First part is today's reservations. When you're in today's reservations, you'll see all the reservations that are coming in today, and they'll be broke down by date and time that they'll be attending, as well as other information like guest ID, their first last name, their status approved or other statuses that are available, a barcode, which you only actually see if they're coming through the portal. The weekly clothing closet, in this case, is the actual outreach, and you could have multiple outreaches in one day. That's why we display that, as well as the service they're receiving. In this case, it's clothing. Now, the distribution that we have for today that people are making appointments for only offers clothing, but you could mix clothing with food or any other type of service. It's up to you how you want to do it. It also has an action section to the right. We have our approve or disapprove, or reject in this case. We have the ability to create a visit directly from here, the ability to create another reservation from this one. We have a link or unlink guest option. Ideally, you'd want to link your client so that you know who they are internally. Now, if you're using your reservation system directly, within your database and you're taking phone calls or you're making new appointments when they're here on a current appointment without using the portal, it doesn't really matter because they're automatically linked in that use case. But if they're coming from the portal, you would want to link them. And the purpose for that is to extend limitations to their ability to make the reservations. You don't want them making reservations every day if they can only come in once a week or once a month for whatever service they're looking for. The next one is edit. Edit lets you view and then make changes to this. The view itself is basically similar, but this actually lets you view the reservation. And if there happens to be anything like an order that's involved, like a pick list, then you'll be able to see the items that they've requested as well. And you also have the option of canceling this reservation. Okay, so now that we've talked about the action buttons, let's actually look at them and see how they work, or what you actually see if you use them. Now, the first thing to know is the approve and reject buttons are only available if this reservation wasn't already approved, and meaning that if I put it in a pending status. So let's show you the edit function, and we'll go ahead and change this status from approved to pending. To do that, we're going to go to the edit button, which is this pencil looking thing. We'll click it, and then it's going to give the information about the client, as well as what service that they're making an appointment for. And this is a good time to talk about these. These are all our programs that we have in this database. Yours may have more, yours may have less. It just depends on what services you provide. Now, because we're doing clothing, we're not going to change that because it's still clothing. But let's say the client wants to change its date. Maybe they want to come in earlier, which you'd be able to do that. You'd be able to change it. But this is not the case here, or it may be another day. But what we're going to do is we have a lot of distributions, as you can see, set up. But what we're going to do is we're going to change it from approved to pending so we can look at those other two buttons. So when I save this and I go back to my today's reservation view, I'm going to see now that approve is not grayed out. It's actually where I can click it or I can reject it. If I reject it, it cancels the reservation. If I approve it, and all it does is it just toggles it to approved right here. So if I go back to today's reservations, you'll see I'm back in the state I was earlier. Now, for some reason, if you want to edit this and change its other functionality, you could go down here and then you have different statuses. We had talked about that earlier. You have a pending status, an approved status, a confirmed status. Some people like to use the confirmed status to be able to know that whatever types of verifications they've done are done. It doesn't really make a difference. You can use it or not. Some people will do it after they send a reminder, because right now our system does not send reminders. It's something we're going to be adding in the near future. You also have a rejected option and canceled. Rejected is just like that red thumb, right, going down. And then canceled is where you're just canceling it directly. All right, so let's look at the Create Visit button in the Action section. So here you have a Create Visit. Now we know this is today's because we're in today's reservations. And you know that today is 10:45. Currently my time is 10:30. Let's say they're here early. What you'll do is you'll click Create Visit. It will automatically pull up the client, go to your visit page, and then depending on what you need to do in your visit page, you would follow those steps if you need to take a signature or whatever the case may be. But whatever your visit page is set up, it'll automatically check what they're coming in for. In this case, it's clothing. So you don't have to check it. It's just there. And you simply just save the visit. It's that easy. Once I save the visit is done. If you do a point of sale type option, if you're using inventory, then you have the ability to check out any items they received. Maybe in clothing, you're actually checking out that they received, clothes, slacks or belts or hats or dresses, that kind of stuff. Now you can also make a new reservation from here like I was showing earlier or talking about earlier. So once you do this, then it just takes you into a reservation, pulls up that client. Generally how this would be used is you'd be simply saying, okay, Gray, would you like to make an appointment for next week? Sure. And then you just go down here, choose clothing, and then you find whatever you want to make, and then you make that new appointment for them by saving it, which makes it very easy to do that. Now that I've made this appointment, or the new appointment, I'm still in the visit, but I have the option of quitting here, doing something else, or if I'm just working through my reservations, I'll just simply go right back to reservations, and you'll notice this status has changed. This status is now completed. Now, because it's completed, I don't have the option of editing it anymore because it's all done. I can view it though, and this lets me view it. Now, there is a View Visit option now here where it used to be Create Visit, but since I'm already created it, it's not there. It just lets me view it if I need to go back to that visit if needed. So let me go back to my reservations. Now, in this case, you'll also see that there's a barcode. What this barcode is for is because it comes from the portal. So if you do like a drive up or we go back into some sort of medical requirement like COVID had all those restrictions to where you couldn't have people come into your building or you had to stay 6 feet distance, then you could use this barcode. They can literally just show you on their phone the barcode. You can scan it and it'll pull up this reservation. And then from there, you can create your visit like we just did, which now says View Visit. You can also create a new guest reservation for them as well still. We can view it. We can't cancel it anymore because it has been turned into a visit because of its completed status. Now, not only do we have today's reservations that you'll be working with, and these are the people you know will be coming in today, or at least should be, you also have an upcoming reservation option. So if you notice, we gave Gray Kitty a future reservation on 12/13 at 10:45. We know what guest it is because we do provide the guest ID. And then we show their first and last name, what their status is. This one here for Todd has already been completed, even though it's in the future, because today's the 15th, so this would be the 19th. We know what distribution. This happens to be a food distribution. And we know it came from the portal because it's got a barcode. Now, we can view this reservation, what items that Todd had ordered, and you can view it here. So this comes from the pick lists that are online through the portal. Now, pick lists are an optional thing. You don't have to do them, but you can set them up, and we're going to talk about them in more detail once we get to the pick list section. Now, we also have other page views, so you'll be able to view any pending reservations you may have. And of course, every one of those has the action buttons that we've seen before, where you can link them or you can approve or deny them. Some agencies have a process they go through to determine their eligibility. Even though we do manage eligibility currently through the reservation and even do it through the portal if you have them linked. But some people just still want to go through and look at certain things and make sure that everything's good to go and they're going to approve it. Another reason for this is if you have a pending step set up to where all your reservations go to pending. That way you can make sure they're linked and then approve them as you need to. Another view is our archived reservations. These are all your older reservations, so ones that have already passed. So this would include reservations from yesterday and older, regardless of their status. So some of these are approved, which means they didn't come in or get converted to a visit. You do have actions on these. You can create a new reservation. You can also link or unlink. This is a link option, but you'll see this in all the different views. You have an option of editing it as well as viewing that reservation as well. Some people will actually convert an approved reservation that the client didn't show, and they'll mark it as a different tracking method or help desired, and they'll create one which is basically a no-show option. That way you can create a no-show visit, and then you can have that in their history. And if you have an issue or you need to work with a client, then at least you'll know if there's a problem, something you need to deal with. Now we also have an upcoming events view. And what's nice about this view is that it shows all the details you need, what your start and end time is, what the date is, the name of the distribution. We have food and clothing ones, as you see here. It'll show how many pending guests are waiting that you need to approve for these distributions. It'll show how many approved guests that you have for that distribution, as well as how many slots per duration. Now that's one thing we haven't talked about yet, but we set our period or start end time between 8 and 11, which is 3 hours. We broke it into 15-minute increments, and we only allow a maximum of 6 households per duration, per 15 minutes. So it shows us how many available that we have. Right now is 71. When you see the available start to drop, you may decide you want to create more slots if need be, and if you need to edit it, there's a direct edit option right here, which makes it nice. So let me just show you what that looks like when you edit. Because there's a reservation, it doesn't necessarily let you edit all of it, but you can edit some things. So some of the things you can edit is you can't change the date since there's already a reservation. You cannot change the duration, but you can increase how many slots. So if you need to bump that from 6 to 8, you could. If I needed to make my duration longer, I can. If I make it sooner, then it would require that I go in 15-minute increments. So I couldn't do 7:50. I could do 7:45 a.m. if I wanted to lower this. And then that's just simply by doing something along these lines. It just adds another whole section that people can make appointments for with 6 possible households for that duration. Now, another thing that you can do, and this is particularly handy in the portal, is that you can say how soon a reservation will show on the portal. So what you can do is you can say days 2, and it'll say on 12/11 at 7:45 a.m. this will be available for people to make appointments. And then the reservation date is 12/13 for that distribution. So 2 days prior it becomes available, and then they can start using it. Prior to that, it won't be visible through the portal. This way you can control when a distribution is eligible to start having reservations made for it. You can also turn it off. So let's say I say 1 day prior to the end time, then it will turn on 12/11 at 7:45 a.m. and it will turn off 12/12/2024 at 11 a.m. I can adjust this accordingly by minutes, hours, days, months, years, depends on how you want to do it. And then you have this value you can increment and set to get the correct shutoff time that you want. So maybe I want this to turn off on, in this case 11, because we want some time near the other half of our distribution day on the day before, because remember this is for the 13th, so that they can take a look at the people that are making appointments and get things ready. Maybe they need to do something, right? This gives you that time. But once this turns off, people can't make any more appointments for it, which is very nice. So utilize this as needed to control, when people can make the appointment and when appointments cannot be made. If you don't have any changes to this, like this setup here where it is right now, then they can make appointments all the way up even during that reservation period. So if let's say 10:45, it ends at 11, so 10:45 is the last slot and it's 10:30, they can make appointments for the 10:45 slot. if there's available household space. Before I get into the guest choices, which is where our pick lists and pick list items live, I just want to touch base on the filtering options. So you have the ability to search for clients by barcode or guest name or outreach. You also can look at all your visits that are pending, approved, and so on. This is especially helpful for your upcoming. Here we also have a date range option. So I can set what days I want to actually look at. Like, let's say I want to look at the ones coming tomorrow that won't be in today's until today. Right? So what you want to do is look at who's coming. So if you have preparation to do, you'll be able to filter out accordingly. Now, another option all these pages have is an option to export. The export option is really handy because that way you can put it into a spreadsheet, especially if you're going to do reminders. You can just set up a quick email template, have the merge fields that are in there that work directly off of your export. So you could send really quickly a bunch of emails the day before. Hey, remember, you're going to be here tomorrow. Now, in the future, we're planning on correcting that, so something that our system will do. But in the meantime, even when we do that, you may want to, remind them at a different frequency. So having that ability is handy, especially if you just want to let them all know that, hey, we have to close due to an emergency. We apologize. Another option is print. Print is really nice because what it allows you to do is either print them all or you can just print those that have orders. When you print them, it downloads a PDF. And let me pull it over so you can see it. And I only have 2 orders. I have one for Todd Pickers and I have one for Donnie D. Decker. And then you can see the items that they've asked for. The benefit of this is that you can actually filter your tomorrow's visits and then print them. And basically what it'll do is it'll print all the orders. So that morning, the volunteers can come in, grab the order, pack this order, put it in a cart or however you do it, and then staple this right to the bag. So that way when Don comes in, all you have to do is just look for his bag, his packed stuff, all ready to go. And you bring it out and put it in the car. So you can have all the stuff ready for him before they even get there. If you choose, it's just an option. Now let's go to guest choices and talk about the items and the different ways you can use pick lists. So in the items view, here's all the items I've already created. I have canned corn, milk, and so on. Now I have actions to the right, like edit, view, and I can also delete this item if I don't want it anymore. If I view it, I'm going to see the item. You have an image and not a lot of data, but I'll just have the name of the item, canned corn. It's set to be visible, and the date it was created. If I edit it, it gives me another option of linking it to inventory. Now, the benefit of the inventory linking is if you try to order it and you're out of stock or your on hold amount is at your current on hand, then it won't allow it to be ordered. This way you can't or won't overpromise. And this allows your clients, if they're doing the online ordering, to be able to choose a different item because this item isn't available. If you didn't have it linked and you didn't have canned corn, chances are you're just going to substitute it with something else before they come and pick it up anyway. But regardless, it's an option and a lot of people do use it, especially your distributor food banks. It makes it very easy for their agencies to order and know they're going to be able to get what they're ordering. We also have the traffic light health indicator or stoplight health indicator. Now, if you Google this, you're going to see all sorts of information about it. But what it's designed to do is to give a very soft way of identifying 3 different stages of food health. So the green go means it's good anytime, get as much of it as you want. Yellow, slow. Yellow is not bad. It's just don't get all yellow. Get some green, right? And then red, whoa, all that basically means is likely you might just do red for, like sticky buns or candy or different types of cookies or cakes, that kind of thing. So yeah, get one of those if you want. But you don't get all red either. So try to get a good combination of all 3. It just allows you a soft way to share that information with your clients as they're choosing. especially if you pair it up with some sort of nutrition information, and a lot of agencies are doing that now today. So let's take a look at the item list again. And because we edited an item and took a look at it, and one of the things we noticed was there was a traffic light nutrition indicator, and then that's what's going to be viewable here. So that's what we call our health level. So we have canned corn at yellow, a gallon of milk at green, jelly beans at red, and so on. And we have quite a few different items. Cakes are also red. I set refried beans to yellow just to show the difference. I don't know if they would be or not. And I guess that brings up the good point of you decide what the health level is. If everything needs to be green, go for it, right? You set it. We don't pull any data from any databases or any government agencies. You decide what you consider to be healthy, not quite as good, and something you want to be limited on. Anyway, it's up to you. If you modify them, you'll get a date updated, as you can see here. Now let's take a look at how you actually view these or use them in a pick list. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the pick list category here on the left. Now these are all my pick lists that I've made for food. I have 3 of them. And they're all set to show, and they're all for food. Now I like to call each one of these a cart, because inside a cart you're going to have categories. The category is a grouping of foods like dairy or protein or dried foods or whatever you decide. And we're going to look at a couple of these. So in the online food order list, it's food. I have my comment label here you can view, which is editable and you can change it. It's customizable. And I have a priority set. So this one shows first, this one shows second, this one shows third. All 3 will show whenever I do food. What date it was created and what date I've modified it. So let's just take a look at it and see what it looks like. So we have 3 different views that you can look at these orders, these order lists. So if they're using a phone, just choose the mobile phone view. If they're going to be working on a tablet, then this is what it looks like on a tablet view. If it's on a desktop, this is what a desktop would look like. And if you notice, there's 3 categories. So the online food order list is my cart, dairy is my first category, protein is my second, and my third is breads. Now I only have 1 item in bread, I consider it green. And then I have 3 items in protein, ground beef, chicken, and eggs. And if you have images installed in your item, it will show here. And then of course I have milk and a block of cheese and dairy. Now let's say I wanted to reorder something. I really wanted my eggs first. Then all you need to do is go to that section, put your mouse on it, click and hold, and then drag it where you want to put it. And then that changes the order for your clients on your order list as well. And this is the only way you order them. You cannot order them through the actual editing or the creation of the pick list. So ideally you build out your set, then change the order as needed. You cannot move an item from one category to another this way though. You would need to add that item to the appropriate category and remove it from the old category. Now let's take a look at this. What we're going to do is we have 3 options up here. We can delete it, we can clone it, we can edit it. Now if I were to go back to my pick list, you're going to see really the same options. I have my edit option, my clone option, the view it, which is I was already at, as well as my delete. Now if I clone it, all I'm doing is duplicating it to where I can make changes without having to create the entire list to add a couple changes. And you might have some lists that you turn on and off. So that's an option. You'll just have 2 versions. So version 1 used at this time and version 2 used at that time. Now I'm not saying you would do that, but just casting vision, if you see there would be some value in that. But if you do want to clone, that gives you that option. When I edit, you're going to see what looks like this. You'll have the name of your pick list, what tracking method or program it's for. In this case, it's food. You can put a description in if you want, and my comment label is accordingly. Now this is a default. Add any comments, instructions, or allergies here to assist in gathering your order. Some people are concerned about the allergy part. Feel free to take it out. It's customizable. You put in what you want. And the next list I'm going to show you will actually have that edited to a different message. Now you can set a priority and what order it shows. I wanted this one to be on top. So 1's first, then 2, and so on. If you do 2 of them at the same priority, then it'll probably just show one over the other based on the name of the pick list. You can also hide a pick list if it's not available anymore by choosing that. Now, the limit rules I'll talk about in just a minute, but you'll notice that they're in 3 different areas. So you have a limit rule for the entire cart, which is the main limit rule. Then you're going to have a limit rule for each category: dairy, protein, and breads. And then here's all my items: milk and cheese, like we saw. Eggs, notice how it changed its order. But remember, you have to do that through the view of it and then drag and drop it accordingly. So eggs, ground beef, chicken, and then of course the loaf of bread. And even these items have that limit rule. So the way the limit rules are designed to work, and let me go ahead and edit this and show you, you have a couple options. So the first thing is you have a no residence. You may set something down to 0 for no residence. And that might be what you would do, let's say, with ground beef or something that requires storage or refrigeration. Maybe it requires preparation, and you're the homeless that you're working with may not have that capability. And if that's the case, if they're marked homeless, then they may not be eligible, or they would be eligible for less or more, depending on what you're doing. So we're not trying to take food away, but it allows you to control food based on that situation. Because I know a lot of agencies like to collect data as to whether or not they can, they have a way of preparing food, or they have a way of storing food, that type of thing. And if you're one of those agencies, if that's important to you, you have this option. You can also do it by household, and then say every household gets 1 or 2, no matter how large or small a household is. Or you could say by household size. In this case, if I have 1 to 3 members in my household, they can get total of 7 items. Now this is in the main cart level, so for the whole cart, they can only get 7 items. If there's 4 to 6 in the whole cart, they can get 8, and then 7 plus, they can get 11. Now, when you read this, you're going to see it's going to show a 7 plus and then a number, right? And we're going to look at some of those and kind of tell you how to decode them. But essentially, if I have 7 or more people in my home, I'm going to get a total of 11 items, or I could order up to 11 items or choose 11 items. Now, so what that's showing here is no residence is 2. If I have 1 to 3 household members, I can get 7. 4 to 6 plus, I get household level 8 items. And then if it's 7 plus, it's 11 items. Now, the dairy itself, the category, is a little different. So no residence is 1 versus the total cart of allowing 2. So I can get 1 dairy if I want, maybe milk or a cheese block. Actually, if you look at the milk, no residence is 0. So all I could do is the cheese block. That would be my limitation in that situation. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong at all. All I'm saying is giving you an example of how it can be used, and you would decide what's the best way to use if you use it at all. Now, the category shows 1 to 3, 2 for this category, but total cart is 7. So I could take 2 of the 7 if I do dairy. If I have a house of 4 to 6, it's 3 out of 8. And then house 7 plus, it's 4 out of 11. Now, the cheese block allows 1 for no residence, 1 to 3 for household size, or for 1 to 3 of household, it's 1, and then 4 plus, it's 2. So we don't really break it into, 4 plus, we just say 2, and it's going to go based on your household size here, whether it's 8 or 11 that it's being taken. Same thing with protein, as you can see, they're all going to be the same. Each one could be set individually, how you want to do it, and this is the beauty of it, because it prevents people from ordering 30 milks. You're not going to give them 30 milks, then you got to deal with that situation. So this allows you to create a pick list that's going to match as close as possible to how you would pack their foods if they weren't choosing it, based at least on the limitations. So you're not going to let them get, like I said, 30 milks, and that's it. All right, so this is this cart, my first pick list. Now let's take a look at my second pick list. So this one is my produce pick list. And this is why I did 3, because I did 3 different pick lists, each one allowing me to let the customers communicate with me specifically. So if I edit this one, I'm going to see something different. And the biggest thing is my comment label. So here I say, type in the produce items you would prefer. If available, we will select those. Otherwise, we will provide what we have available. So I set my priority to, so that'll be in the middle. In this case, my status is show, so it is visible. I did not do a limit rule for the cart since I only have one category in it. If I had multiple categories, maybe I would, but my cart limit would basically be this, right? So it doesn't make sense to do it. So now what I'm looking basically at is there's no residents. I get one item from the produce section. If I have 1 to 3 people in my household, I get one item. 4 to 6 people in my household, I can pick 2 items. And then 7 up, I can get 3 items. I'll go take a look at that item and show you what we're doing, but we're basically just doing a generic item called produce because my produce might change a lot. Tomatoes or cucumbers, or maybe I got a whole bunch of cauliflower, right, or broccoli, but that's not constant. And then adding and removing a bunch of produce sometimes is kind of painful. And it also lets you show other ways you can use it, like maybe you want to say hygiene items, type in the items you're looking for. Depending on how many you can choose, we'll go off that list, which ones we do have. So maybe you could say, well, if you have a toothbrush or toothpaste or toilet paper, or maybe you need diapers or, feminine hygiene or those types of things. Now let's look at the third one. I'll go back to pick list. I'll go to my canned fruits and veggies. I'll edit that one. So here you can see we have our limit rule as well. We do allow no residents to have more of these canned fruits and vegetables, because they don't really require storage, nor generally preparation. If you can warm it, great. If you can't, well, it's still food. They can eat, peaches, fruit cocktail right out of the can if need be, right? So we have those items here, fruit cocktail, peaches, and pears. The no residence has 2 of each of those for a max of 2 in the category. So they could do 1 fruit cocktail, 1 peach, 1 pears, 1 peach, 2 fruit cocktail if they want, and no pears or peaches. Same number as if you have 1 to 3 in your home. 4 to 6 might let you get a 3rd can, and then 7 up lets you get a 4th can. So 4th, if you have 7 and up, then essentially you could get 2 fruit cocktail, 2 peaches, but you couldn't get pears. But you could get 1 of 2 of each of these, and then get 2 of that one to make your 4. Now your canned veggies, same kind of thing. We allow no residents with 2 in this rule. Once again, remember, you set the rules. I'm just giving it as an example. So 1 to 3 is household 2, household 3, and household 4. Based on the household sizes, as you can see in those numbers, it's just like the above. And then, of course, we have some sweet things. If a non-residence person would like a jelly bean or a cake and it's available, sure, they can order it, right? In a household of 1 as well. But a household of any size, this is a household number. So if you have 1 person in a home or 20 people in the home, you can get 1 jelly bean or 1 cake, and that's it. All right, now let's look at these when you're actually doing a reservation in a food order. And a lot of times people do this. So we're going to create a reservation. And if you're creating reservations for today, as they're coming in, and you want them to do a pick list, this is a way of letting them pick their food without actually going through the reservation process. You are doing a reservation, but it makes it a little easier. The people in the back can see exactly what they want and pack. Now, some people are doing this. I'm not really sure how effective it's been. We are thinking about different ways of doing some of these things to make it easier as we get feedback from our clients. And that's how FoodBank Manager was built from the beginning, by what you guys tell us you like and what you don't like, honestly. So let's go ahead and pull someone up. And let me go ahead and by first name, I don't know, do I have anyone with a G in their first name? Yeah. So let's go with Gary Friend. Now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to choose food. And then I'm going to have my different days. So November 19th, remember today's the 15th. We've been talking about that in this video. So because we're past the time, it's now 11:30, it's not available anymore to make appointments since all the appointment slots have expired. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do one for next week. There's 4 available this time, 5 at that time. All right, so let's say Gary says, I want to be here at 10. Great. And you do that. And then you'll go ahead and hit save. If there's a pick list involved, you'll have a manage orders button. Now you can do this, have this pre-made in the future. And when Gary shows up, you can go ahead and click, you can pull up this reservation, pull up the order. So here's the order list, just like we were showing. And you notice here's my online food order list, right? Dairy, protein, breads. Below, I'll see food produce, right? Here's my produce miscellaneous. Remember, it's not a all the different items of produce because they can change frequently. And then here's my canned fruits, my canned veggies, and then my sweets. If you notice, there's numbers like this, 2, 2, and then 2, 2, 2 in the items. Those are my 3 different levels of limitations we talked about a minute ago. So I can do 2 fruit cocktail, 1, 2, which satisfies how many I can get in canned fruits, but it also says that I'm done in my cart. So in that case, maybe I could just do 1 of these and then 1 canned corn. Now that also satisfies my cart, but I didn't quite satisfy these, but my overall cart limit is satisfied, so I can't do more. Now if I really wanted jelly beans, I'd have to decide, you know what, I don't want fruit cocktail, I want a jelly bean. So now this is a fairly harsh look at it, but that's just the whole point. I'm just showing it to you, right? So that you can see how it works. And then you get to adjust all these numbers to work the way you need them to. And then here's my comments here where I can have a comment where I can say, hey, if you don't have jelly beans, I'd like this type of thing. Or if we're out of jelly beans, just get me a canned fruit. I don't care what kind. Substitute it with canned fruit. So they can communicate with you. Now here's that produce one. That produce says type in the produce items you would prefer. This is that custom one where I told you I changed it completely. If available, we will select those items. Otherwise, we will provide what we have available. So if they put in things like, do you have green beans or cauliflower? And they're like, no, we don't have those, but let's get you some tomatoes and some spinach, which are the items we have right now. Right, so you would just provide what you have. And then they would choose, I want 1. And remember, these numbers are based on whether you're homeless or not, or whether your household size or household limit. And I think this particular account is considered homeless, which is why you're seeing this strict obedience to the numbers. So once you set your order, you choose what you're going to receive. It shows your order here. That's it. You're done. Now, you can change this by managing the order and making a change as needed and resave it. I can also print it if I need it printed. Now, one thing you might do is if you're doing it live while they're there and it's the day of the distribution, when you print it to the actual printer and maybe in the warehouse. And then they could just, there's an order, and they just go pack it. Gary, and they grab Gary and off they go. All right, so that's a pick list in the items. The way you create them is just like how you edit them. Give it a name, choose the program, what it's for, what your comment label is going to be for this, I would call a cart, the priority for this one, and you can stack multiples for the same tracking method if you want. And then, of course, status, show, hide. If you need to turn it off, you can. Do your limits, set your category. Anytime you have a category in here, hit the green button to set it. Then you have to have at least 1 item for it to take before you can save it. So every category needs at least 1 item. Be aware of that. Okay, so let's talk now about creating an item, which we did talk about items, but as you notice, editing an item, creating an item basically is the same. Now, there is one report that we have. This is an ordered report. And what this is designed to do is kind of let you know what's hot and what's not, right? What are we getting? What's being ordered? So what you'll do is you'll set your date for the date you want all your orders to view them. And then you're going to go and choose your program. In this case, it's food. I know it's this one down here. And then what your statuses are. Now, I don't know if it requires a status. Yes, it does. So you're going to say, well, I want to see everything maybe completed. So that way all your filled orders and maybe your approved orders, right? So then you're going to hit search and it's going to give you my items. So in this case, I know that canned corn, I had 2 items of canned corn ordered, and my reservation count that ordered canned corn is 2. So I know that 2 reservations ordered 1 canned corn each. So getting in milk, I had 2 reservations that ordered a total of 2 each, or 4 milks. Now, this isn't being used enough. It's just a quick demo to show it to you. You might find that only 1 item has been ordered, out of 1 reservation out of the whole month. You might think to yourself, well, that's not real popular, and that could be why you have so much on your shelf, right? So anyway, just be aware. Now your columns here, this also lets you look at it by pick list, and as well as guest, tracking method, and reservation status. So if we go here to search, so now I'm going to be looking at the pick list name. So if you have multiple pick lists that contain the same item, then you would be able to look at it that way if you choose. Now, if we also maybe want to change it to guests and see which guests are ordering what items, so here's all the different guests that you're working with and then the items that they've ordered. Now, you can also do a combination of these, but before I do any of that, I'm just going to show you now it's by tracking method. These are my food orders, but that's all I really have in here for orders for this demonstration. And then my reservation status. So here's all my orders for approved, completed, and then any that might have been canceled or deleted, that kind of stuff would show as well. I don't have any of those. But that would work off of what we have selected here. I don't have them all selected. Now, if I want to know a couple things, let's say I want to know by guest and pick list, I can choose more than one option, and it's going to give it to me by pick list name, and then you sort these by pick list name, like canned fruits and veggies, and all my customers that worked off of that list, and what items were received in that list. So there's a lot of that functionality here for you to look at your orders. It does help a lot to know what's popular and what you probably need to order more of if available to do that. Now, one more thing I just want to show, if you are creating a reservation while in the reservation tool, you're going to go up here to create. And here you have an option of either scanning a barcode or just searching by columns, and that's just like you would in the new visit process, really on any search page that you're working with. So what you'll do is by using this multi-columnar search tool, find the client you're going to go ahead and do a reservation for. If you haven't already done it through the visit like here, to where then you just use this to take you right into that process. But if you're doing it to where you're doing it by hand, choose your columns, find the person you want to work with. Let's say it's Esmeralda, and then you grab her, and then you choose whatever service they're coming in for. If it's food, you set the day and time, and then save it. So now I've just made a reservation for her. You know, if you're the kind of agency that isn't going to use a portal, but you do just want to let people call in for an appointment, what you would do likely is just probably to the new visit process, right? You open this up, and then you could just pull them up here. Maybe you're more familiar with this, but pull them up here and then look, and then just use the green reservation button. Or you don't have to, you could just simply go to reservations, hit create, do the same thing, find them here. So let's just do G. So Great Kitty, what they're getting. And once you choose the service, let's say it's clothing, then you'll see your clothing distributions. If I were to say food, let's say, and clothing, then I'll see both food and clothing. But it doesn't necessarily always work the best to do multiples when they're only looking for one item, let's say food. And then you'll see your food distributions, choose it and save, just like I did earlier. Well, anyway, so that's the reservation tool. We talked a little bit about how the portal works with it as well. We will be doing another video all about the portal and what the process looks like for a guest as they're using it, and what little bit you'll see on your end. And mostly is you'll see that you'll have that barcode there for your portal visits for that type of usage. Anyway, thank you so much. If you have any questions, you know we're always here for you. Offer you a personal demo if you need. Have a great day.